Well guys, after making it all the way to the end of October, it looks like we finally have something to talk about with Switch 2. Of course, this does not come from Nintendo, but instead it actually comes from another company. And it's very interesting because this is the first kind of confirmation of anything Switch 2. Honestly, it might even be the first Switch 2 game technically announced. So Playtonic Games has announced their remake or remaster, I don't even know 100% sure what it is. I'm pretty sure it's a remake of Yooka-Laylee, which is called Yooka-Replaylee. And the game has been announced for Xbox Series X and S, PS5, the PC, and Nintendo. Yeah. No Switch, just Nintendo. What makes this even weirder is they had these little eyeballs pop across the screen and land on the Nintendo logo. So obviously, this is just straight up telling us this is not coming to Switch, this is coming to Switch 2. But they just can't tell us yet what the name of the console is because Nintendo won't announce the dang thing. And obviously, developers are even getting impatient at this point. So they have games coming out and they know that they're running on Switch 2, but they can't even announce the thing yet. They even put out an official tweet that says, as well as PC, Yooka-Replaylee will be on PS5, Xbox Series, and ... Nintendo with eyes emoji. Like, this is just right in our face at this point. And you might think to yourself, well, we know Switch 2 is coming, but this is the first kind of official game that we know coming to the console that's actually genuinely been announced, because they would have just said Switch if it was coming to Switch, which is super exciting for a lot of reasons, just showing that we're getting closer. Now it's just up to Nintendo. And of course, I've been pretty doom and gloom on the whole Switch 2 thing lately, because here we are at the end of October and still no announcement. I'm sorry, but I'm still really feeling like 2025 is going to be when we get this thing revealed, which is going to be painful, but maybe this is hope for a reveal very soon. In fact, we have not seen a single company announce a game like this yet, and there's even more evidence pointing towards there could be an inevitable reveal. What makes this even crazier is that there's other companies right now tweeting about their games coming to Nintendo platforms, but they always say Nintendo Switch. For instance, Argonaut Games, creators of one of the first games I ever played as a kid, which is Croc, Legend of the Gobos, is actually making a remaster for this game, and they just said Nintendo Switch. And it's also coming to PS4 too, so, and also just Xbox One, so I guess it's all past consoles as well, so I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day with this one. But it's interesting though, because it doesn't have a release date, it just says coming soon, so maybe this is a game coming towards Christmas time this year still, or very early next year, and it's not going to make it to Switch 2. And then we have Yooka-Laylee, which also doesn't have a release date, and it seems like it's probably going to be sometime next year, probably still early next year, which is making me wonder, is this going to release when the Switch 2 is released? Is this going to be like a day one title for Switch 2 as a big third-party game? Or is it going to be a weird thing where it releases on all the platforms below and we have to wait for it to actually come out on Switch 2? It's hard to say, but it is strange that they're bringing this up now and being so hintful about it, you know what I mean? Throwing the eyeballs everywhere. So it makes me almost think that there's some type of presentation coming and like Yooka-Replaylee is a part of it or something as a big third-party game. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But we also hear that Nintendo's apparently using their third-party companies to bring over remasters of older games in order to really focus down on their Switch 2 core lineup. This article discusses what PH Brazil had stated about what he previously said about remasters for a GameCube game and a 3DS game, though he didn't say which ones, but he also mentioned some third-party games that'll get remasters on Switch 1 in 2025 as part of an initiative from Nintendo to court third parties and help compensate for Nintendo's own internal teams being too busy with the Switch 2. Apparently, PH Brazil has a list of these games. For Ubisoft, we're going to be getting Splinter Cell Blacklist, Rayman 3, not connected to the rumored Rayman remake by Ubisoft, Driver 1+2, two more unnamed titles under consideration. For EA, additional Wii games, which is weird, Bandai Namco, multiple projects, a quote-unquote big Western third-party publisher is going to release 2 releases, and Brazil specifically mentioned that this initiative is to make sure Switch 1 owners who don't immediately upgrade to Switch 2 still have some new things to play while Nintendo is focused on Switch 2. This doesn't necessarily mean the Switch is further out than most expected, but I guess this is pretty much saying yes, you know, so that way they're not just jumping away from Switch 1 immediately, and that's to be expected. We've seen the 3DS have multiple showings in Nintendo Directs, even for Nintendo Switch, all the way throughout like the next 2 years, like 17 and 2018. So I don't think that's like anything super surprising. Now I want to say this could just be Playtonic's doing, since they don't really have a name for the console yet, and maybe Nintendo told them it's coming soon, but we still can't tell you anything. they're kind of left with their hands tied behind their back. Maybe they know what this console is, you know, they're a dev, they probably have already seen the dev kits and stuff. They have this game planned for this console, but literally they just can't talk about it until Nintendo officially announces the thing. So either way you spin it, I would like to think that there's an announcement coming very soon, at least like in the next couple of months. But still, it's hard to even picture when they'll have time to do it. I feel like they have now ran out of time for this year. At the beginning of the month, I put together a little chart discussing when I think the weeks are best for there to be a Switch 2 presentation, but I just wasn't feeling it for this month. And as you can see, nothing happened. I thought the second week of October, or even the week that we're currently in, would have been perfect, but still absolutely nothing. Now, there still is a chance they could do it at the beginning of next week, but it is a Halloween week. And if I know Nintendo at all, they like to just stay away from anything and keep all the eyes on them for the entire week. So I'm not betting towards next week. And look, if they are waiting until November, I truly don't understand when this is going to be. Like, literally the first week of November is absolutely packed. For one, voting starts on Tuesday, November 5th, which I know a lot of people might say, well, that's just for America. It doesn't matter. Nintendo doesn't want to do or interfere with any type of thing like this. Like, they want to make sure that they are the spotlight. They've done this multiple times with multiple different events around the world. They do not want to interfere with any of it, and that's why I don't think they're going to do anything on Halloween week. Also, there's an investors meeting on that day as well, where Nintendo has to tell investors what their plans are and share their sales, and who knows how well they're doing, especially after a massive drop-off during the last investors meeting in the spring. So yeah, it wasn't looking good for them back then. It almost felt like they were forced to announce the thing when they did, because it wasn't doing so well. And that's when they also announced the Nintendo Direct coming too at that time. Like, it was so unprecedented for Nintendo, and it was clear that they felt pressured and definitely had to announce something. And then you look at what's coming up Thursday on that week, Mario & Luigi Brothership. So that week is packed to the brim. Now, a lot of people might just keep on moving down the list and say, okay, what about November now? I'm like, no, it just doesn't make sense for Nintendo to reveal anything after that first week of November. For one, they've already had the investors meeting. Why have an investors meeting, tell them that you have nothing to announce, and then just a couple weeks later or a week later announce Switch 2? That wouldn't look good for investors, and people would be very mad. I mean, it would just not work well for Nintendo. I mean, they would lose investors because they're not excited about anything if Nintendo doesn't tell them that the Switch 2 is coming, unless they announce the thing during the investors meeting and say, hey, tune in next week and give us a week in advance to prepare for the thing. I don't see how this is going to happen. After that first week of November, Nintendo would directly be interfering with their holiday season at that point. I mean, you have Switch bundles to sell. You literally have a Mario Wonder Switch bundle you just announced, plus the games you just announced, which will sell even more during the holiday season. Why would you just kind of destroy your holiday season with this, unless Nintendo really just doesn't care about these games all that much? I don't think that's the case, though. I think November and December is pretty much cut off. So unless somehow, some way, Nintendo does something early next week before Halloween, I don't think there's a chance we get this thing announced this year. But then that really starts to beg the question, when is this console coming out then? When can we expect to actually have our hands on the Switch 2? Well, if it's not being revealed for the first time ever until next year, I don't think people are understanding what that actually means. If we have to wait until January, February, or even March for a reveal of this console, we're not getting it until late summer, holiday the earliest. Let's face it, this year has been full of about B-tier games for Nintendo, maybe even some C-tier depending on how you look at it, but lots of remakes, lots of remasters, and smaller scale games, and most of them not even made by Nintendo's core development teams. So with that said, it really would hurt pretty bad if Nintendo did go into next year and pretty much a majority of the year with more remakes and more remasters and yet again, smaller scale games until we reach Switch 2. But I don't think this is the case because I think Nintendo is completely done. I think these reports are correct where Nintendo is full focused on Switch 2 games right now, and anything else that could be coming out is going to be smaller third-party games, ports, remakes, and remasters and stuff developed by other companies. And as we've seen already, that seems to be what's going on, where their main focus is on Switch 2 development. Another thing to back this up is we have not had a Nintendo Direct Direct since June, which means we probably won't have another one anytime soon, and the next Nintendo Direct will probably be focused on Switch 2 titles because there's nothing else to announce. After Donkey Kong Country Returns HD in January, I feel like it might just be an empty slate until whenever Metroid Prime 4 comes out, whether that is a Switch 2 title or whether we just wait for Switch 2 altogether. I'm gonna be honest with you, with a whole year of just smaller scale games and really no announcements of anything big in a long time, it really makes me just sit and think that, man, Nintendo is sitting on a monster pile of huge first-party games that are going to be coming to the first year of Switch 2. I really want to believe that next year is going to be absolutely massive, but man, if this is the case and Nintendo is sitting on a lot of these games, why is it taking them so long to just announce this console? And are we really going to have to wait until 2025? Once again, I'll just say that I have officially moved to Team 2025 a while ago. After it didn't happen in September and everybody's saying October now, I said not a chance. Absolutely no way, because September was lined up so perfectly. If it didn't happen then, it's not happening anytime soon. So with that said, maybe I'm wrong. And I'm praying I'm wrong. Trust me, if I'm wrong, I will be so happy. I mean, I want to be wrong about this. I hope that literally next week, early next week, Nintendo comes out and says, tune in tomorrow for a 4 to 5 minute showcase of the new Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be called. Like, that would just make me so happy, and I feel like it would be a perfect end to the year. Get everybody excited for something new coming next year, have everybody excited with the games that are coming out with this year. You're good to go. But man, it really seems like Nintendo is going to wait and drag this thing out to the latest possible chance. And if they do go into this investors meeting still with no word on Switch 2, I feel like it is going to look mighty bad for Nintendo. Even though they did announce that they had until the end of the fiscal year, people are going to be pretty upset, especially if their sales are low. If sales are down, especially with the recent games that just dropped, it's going to look really dire for Nintendo. And they might even have to come out and announce the things coming out soon or something. They might have to give us another announcement at the investors meeting, which is just ridiculous at that point. But hopefully Nintendo knows what they're doing. We'll know very, very soon what their plans are. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you still Team 2024? Or have you jumped ship like me and jumped to 2025? Or have you always been 2025? And also, does this first kind of soft announcement of a Switch 2 title with Yuka Replayly get you kind of excited? Does it feel like it's anything special to you? Just definitely let me know in the comments down below. But thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.